Hello, hello, and welcome or welcome back to season 3 of the Combed Education podcast. Let's talk hair. My name is Araz. I'm your host. If you guys have been around for a while, we are in season 3, which is really exciting for me. I didn't think I'd get here, to be honest. This started off as just like a for funsies thing, and I am 3 seasons in. I've had some really, really cool episodes and some fucking phenomenal guests. And this season, I'm spotlighting a lot more of my friends in the industry, of people I look up to in the industry, because I'm in this like mindset of I can go far alone, but I can go farther with other people. And that was a shift for me because I'm like super neurotic control freak. I got it. I have to do everything on my own. And then I met some really fucking cool people. Like over this last year, I have met some incredible people, and I want to get to know them better because of social media. Like we like talk on social, but I don't really get a chance to interact with some of my friends. And so inviting them on the podcast, I feel like is really cool for a couple reasons. Selfishly for me, because we get to hang out. And then secondly, for you guys, for all of the people who listen, I think it's important to know who's out there, to get to know, to see, to experience. And so why not use this platform for that? So today I have a really, really, really funny, beautiful, talented, like I feel like I fell in love with you on if you guys are watching on YouTube, you probably can see my guest, but if you're just listening, I have Morgan on, also known as at Jade Beauty Co. And it was funny because she came on and I was like, I know your name is not Jade, but is it Catherine or Morgan? And she's like, I'm in the government protection witness program.
I am hiding out from the IRS or something.
It's so funny. Yeah, I remember I had to put my full government name too when I went to go get verified, and I was like, "Oh God, you all know my middle name. Let me get this done real quick."
You're
Um,
right.
but Morgan, I feel like most of us in the industry, I fell in love with you through your reels, and it was probably earlier this year. And I shared a little bit, I don't get too personal with my personal life, but like I've had kind of a really rocky, tumultuous year. And there have been days where I was just like not happy. And then your reel would pop up, like God making hairdressers. I fucking died. I laughed so hard.
Thank
And
you so much.
girl, and then like I went to your page and I was like, she is so much more than funny reels. Like you do some fucking cool shit. And
Thanks, girl.
it makes my heart happy because a lot of you guys don't know this. Early on in my career, like I don't know, 15 years ago, I was very into doing avant-garde runway. Like I would make hair pieces, and we like me and my friend would do shows for Ed Hardy. Like that just aged me.
Yes.
Back then, it was a big deal. And like she was
That is a
insane.
big deal.
And like
Yes.
she got the gigs and she's like, do you want to help? I'm like, fuck yeah. And so we would use like chicken wire and hair extensions
I
and like
love it.
glue guns. And so when I see you doing your stuff, I'm like, oh, I miss that so much, that creative outlet. So while
Yes,
you're known more, I feel like on social media for the funny reels, and I think you
absolutely.
awarded a lot for that, which fucking you deserve. I feel like you're so much more than that when I've gone to your feed and seen your work and seen your personality, and you're a mom. So I don't want to speak too much because I don't know a lot about you. So I'm going to pass it over to you. And just so you guys know, we don't have an agenda. So we're just going to talk and see what happens. So I'm going to pass it to
Yeah.
you, and you can
Well,
kind of do your thing.
well, thank you so much. Like, truly, it's such an honor. And I think we've connected for probably over a year, but I just have to say, your Combed Education, you were kind enough to hook me up about, I was at least a year ago.
I think it was, yeah.
And I am not kidding when I tell you, like, your voice is so soothing to me, which is such a weird thing to say. But I would literally at night, I would watch and like would get in like this trance. It was like my meditation. Like,
Yeah.
if you can come read me a bedtime story, that would be great.
That's
No, truly. And like what I love about education is like I was always like, oh, the science part, it's so confusing to me, but the way that you break it down and the way you've created, props to like explain it better is like so spot on. So anyways, that's just first and foremost. I have to tell you that. But Yeah, yes. I've been a hairstylist for almost 19 years, which seems crazy. How long have you been in the industry?
23.
Yeah, okay, so right, so you're just like, how, I mean, so ecstatic, but also how did that time go by so fast?
You
It's
just blink.
wild.
Yeah, you blink and it's like, damn, my body feels it. And
Listen,
it's like, I'm just getting started, but my body's like, bitch, your knees are done, your hips are done, your back is like, it's
I threw out my back. I do it annually around the holiday season. I threw it out Sunday and I am miserable. I am just miserable, but it's like we got to keep trucking through. So, yeah, so thank you. 19 years in the industry. I do love avant-garde a lot. And girl, anytime you want to jump back in, you just jump back in. You know what I mean? Like that's what I love about our industry is you can take a break from things, but then you can jump back in whenever you want. So, Ed
COVID.
Hardy.
It was so much fun. But I remember during COVID, like our second shutdown in California, I turned one of my
Yeah.
spare bedrooms into a little studio. And I did, girl, I took out the styrofoam, the chicken wire, the glue gun,
Yes.
like, sticky stuff. And like it was so like soul filling, but I don't know where my mind goes is like that's literally just a creative outlet for me. There's no like other than creativity, there's nothing that I can give. But like you actually work like Chicago Fashion Week, right? And like
Yeah, so I've been the lead for Chicago Fashion Week for the last couple of years. I love fashion and runway. I love editorial work. I just did an amazing shoot last night with 4 models. I love that side of the industry, avant-garde too, but it's not like that pays my bills, right?
this is
So
just
like true, just what you were saying, it is like my creative outlet and it feeds my soul so much. Like if I could just get paid to do avant-garde work all the time, that's I think what I would be drawn to. Um, but I've moved much more into education this year. I just feel like that's kind of the natural progression of my career, being 19 years in. I'm like, I have some things to say. I feel like it's my time to give back to the industry what I've learned over these 2 decades. So, I'm loving education actually. I didn't know that I would as much as I do, but I really do. I had a very busy year. My friend Erin Ray and I, we went on the road and we did a lived in color tour, which was really awesome. We had a great support of amazing sponsors who we work with, and that was really great. And then I was doing a lot of styling education. I'm a design me artist, so I was in the Canadian markets quite a bit, which was so fun. I love Design Me. It's such a great brand, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of it. And then I just signed with a color company, but I haven't like fully
oh,
made that
you text
announcement
me.
yet. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I have a bunch of collabs that I'm doing in 2024 for education. So be on the lookout for that. We're just getting our dates together, but I'm so excited because like what you were saying with like collabing and, doing all that, like we can do things on our own, but coming together with other artists has been such a game changer for me. And I have someone who like will admittedly be like, I'm not that great of a group project type person. Like even in school, I was just like, like not good at group projects. But this year, I'm like doing so many collabs and I'm so excited about it. And what a game changer that is. Like, I have some really, really fun stuff happening. And so I'm just excited for the new year. I mean, I think in our industry, it's easy to like really compare ourselves, right? Because like with social media, where when you and I got into the industry, that didn't exist. And so you didn't have, yes, there was like the comparison game in salons a little bit and the hierarchy of like, what level you were at, but like as a whole, you didn't have that like with the whole world. Now we kind of do. I don't fall into that. I feel like I'm too old for that. Luckily, right? We have maturity on our side. Um, but I feel for these younger stylists that are like constantly comparing themselves and like worrying about where they are at social media wise and, anyways. But my point is just like if you ignore all that and just like collab with other people, it's such a beautiful thing.
It really is. So one, you didn't hear me. I'm going to say this again. Can we do a collab together?
Oh my God, please. Are you
Awesome.
serious?
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
dead
love
ass.
that.
Let's actually chat about it. Um,
Yeah.
and then two, like, here's the thing that I'm learning. So for the longest time, I didn't like I was like, yeah, community over collaboration over competition, right? Like I bought into and subscribed to that, but I actually never applied it. Right. So
Yeah.
like I like the because I think like Cosmoprof came out or somebody, some big
Yes. No, I agree.
and I was like, yes, but not me. You guys.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys go ahead and do that. I'm not going to put myself in the mix because while, when I was greener in the industry, yes, I didn't compare myself because we didn't have social media. I still very much did not feel a part of the industry. Like I would go to the hair shows with coworkers, but I didn't feel like I belonged for a really long time, which is why I think when when sweets were first coming out in California, this was for 13
Hmm.
years ago. I was like, fuck yeah, sign me up. Like I can have my own
Mm.
space because I don't feel like part
Like you
of
didn't have a home. Yeah.
I didn't. I mean,
And
my
you're like,
salon
I'll
was
make my own home in the industry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like my salon was great. My coworkers were great. I've worked in two salons. I mean, it was fine, but I never felt part of until I put myself out there.
Yeah.
I think like that was the big differentiator for me was just like, okay, I'm sitting here just observing, just watching, because there's that Roosevelt quote of like the man in the arena and what's her name? Brene Brown talks about it all the time about how we judge when we're in the sidelines. You can't judge unless you're in it. So
Right.
when I launched Combed, I was like, I have to. Like, I can't be antisocial and not feel part of this industry if I want to help because very similar to you. Like I have all this knowledge I've acquired, all of these
Hmm.
experiences that I've had, and a big, big value of mine is contribution. Like I feel
Yeah,
like that's the epitome of like being a good person is how can you contribute, right? It's
for
not just
sure.
about me. How can so if I'm going to contribute, I have to be in the arena. And what I found is you can tiptoe in the arena and you got to be careful because there are people who are not your people too. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you've experienced that, but if you come clean and you put yourself in the arena to put yourself in the industry to talk to people, to DM your people that you like or you look up to or whatever, you will build a community of some really fucking like that's happened to me this year. Is that
Yeah.
actually feel like I have a home in this industry, like I do belong. Versus
Absolutely.
years, I was like, no, I'm just the weird Armenian girl who like went to private school and I'm fucking weird. And now I'm like, yeah, but that's my power. That's my superpower. And I found,
That is your superpower.
yeah,
Yes,
I found like
absolutely.
people who are weird with me, and we're just like, well, fucking rock on. Like it's good.
Yes. I love my band of weirdos. Listen, I feel the same way. Like once I stopped caring, I mean, look at me. I have zero makeup on today. Um, I once I stopped caring about how I my whole persona is making myself an idiot on the internet. Once I stopped caring about how that looked is when people gravitated towards me because that's the true me. I didn't have to pretend to be pretty and put together. I just was myself,
I got
you
goosebumps.
know?
That is the my definition of just fully being authentic. Right?
Yeah,
It's like what I shared about this in stories the other day. What you think, what you say, and what you do are all in alignment. That's authenticity, right? And so when
totally.
you show up authentically, see, like I've shown up looking like shit on stories on the podcast. I've shown up
Hmm.
dolled up. I've shown up whatever. It's the authentic in that moment. When you show up that way, it literally naturally attracts your people. But
Absolutely.
when you have a mask, and I think we're trained from a young age to put on a mask, right? Like
We
you have
are.
to fit in with certain family members, certain friend groups, certain thing, and
Absolutely.
bring that into our adult life and wonder why we don't have authentic connections.
Yeah.
And it's like,
No,
well,
I mean, you hit it on the head. We are trained to do that. Be a certain way, be polite, be a lady, be all these things. I mean, as women, we are that is shoved down our throat. at such a young age of like, don't be rude, don't, smile,
Don't
smile.
talk
Like,
back. Be nice. Give a hug. Be polite.
yeah. I mean, these are all things that I won't do not put onto my children because I just like refuse. I think our generation is much more like, no, but that is something as a society we train ourselves to do. And I would say for the first 15 years of my career, I did that. I just was like, I need to be super polished. I need to always come on like fully. Remember when people would be like, oh, sorry, I look like crap when they would get on stories? Like, I refuse to do that. This is who I am. This is my skin, like it or not. Also, like, I think that comes with maturity too, right? Like, I wouldn't have done that at 25.
After you have kids too, I feel like it comes with after having, like, I remember the first 2 years of having my son, I looked like a hot mess, but I was so happy. And that was one of the times I realized
Totally.
that, like, wow, I don't have to look like, I'm Armenian. And if you know anything about Armenian culture, it is very much like you got to look a certain way, you got to act a
Be
certain way.
put together. Yeah.
Yes, as an Armenian woman, and especially with my family, it's like you represent the family. And so when I had my
Right.
baby, like I represented fucking fully embracing being a mom with the spit up and the crusty eyebrows.
Yeah.
I was so happy that I didn't care. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, I cannot care. I can.
Yeah.
And
That's an option. Yeah.
so slowly the mask starts getting chipped away. And sometimes it's not even the physical mask, it's the energetic mask. That's the big one, right? Because yeah, if I could show up on stories with no filter and no makeup, like that would be really bold. I'm not there yet. I'll be the first to admit I'm not there yet. But it's the energetic mask that's gone, right? And so
Yeah, because you can get on and say how you feel and say and be your authentic self. That's huge because a lot of people cannot do that. Yeah, and I'll say too, like something that is very gratifying for me. I've been someone who's always dealt with feeling very insecure. I don't know any woman in life who hasn't felt that way. So my story is not unique. But I have always dealt with that. And I'm very proud of like, it's so much more gratifying to build these relationships and, like, okay, if we're being honest, win certain awards, right? Knowing I did that being myself.
100%, like to be validated, to be
Yeah.
literally rewarded, literally, like you won BTC for what was it?
For funny video. Yeah, I mean, not just that, but do you know what I'm saying? Like
I
when
want you to own
you
that for a second though, because yes, it was funny, but like that's you being you.
yeah, I mean, for me, what really and not I don't like I hate to toot my own horn, but Modern Salon is a platform that I very much have always looked up to. I mean, I've said it a million times, but like remember being in the break room when you were first in the industry looking through those magazines and being like, so for them to come and like award me Indie Pro of the Year based on like my work and education and my personality, that to me, I was like, it was so much more gratifying because I'm like, this was the time in my life where I'm truly myself. I had won other awards, truthfully, in my earlier in my career, but like it kind of felt weird because I knew I wasn't me. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? You were trying to like always
Some type
be
of way.
something.
Yes.
Yeah. And so for me at this point in my life, it's very gratifying knowing that like being me is enough.
It's more than enough.
But you know what I mean? I think we grow up always feeling like you're never enough.
Like you are literally speaking to my heart. I still felt that way, not even that long ago, and I still battle with that. Of
Of
I'm not.
course. I mean,
Well,
I'm not fully healed.
I don't think that ever happens.
But
Me and I were
yeah.
talking. It's like it's a whole process of like just peeling back
Yeah.
the union, and it's just never ending working on ourselves. But like that worthiness piece, that self worth, that I am enough, like it is something that I have to practice daily. I have to remind myself daily because life be lifing sometimes. And
It does.
really So when you have that belief system from a young age, and whether it's you brought it onto yourself or it was given to you by life circumstances, like, I don't deserve, I am not enough. Like, it's a daily battle. And so
It
it's
is.
so important. Like you said, I don't like to toot my own horn. And while that's humble and like I get that, when shit like that happens, where you're validated for being enough, when you're validated for being worthy, like, you have to because that's like, you have to hold on to that, because what happens is our mind is literally going to go to, you're a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
Because you believe that, or like, I don't deserve this, or it's
Yeah.
true. So when you get that validation, please fucking hold it, and hold it at your heart, because
Totally.
it's it's so important, because it validates that I am worthy. I am enough.
Yeah.
I am not dolled up, not filtered, not masked, not trying to be something that I'm not. Like, no, I am enough. And I don't care who tells me I'm not or who tells me I am. Like, I
Yeah. I
am.
know I am. Yeah.
But like, how you build that is seeking the proof
Yeah.
outside. You're like, no,
And I think, and being with people, so like this is the year too, like I feel very fortunate. I know so many people in the industry because of my videos, right? And so many, but I have also found my people in all of that. And people that, whether I talk to you every day or I talk to you just on social, like people that I just know are my people. Do you know what I mean? And
and
I think that is the beauty of social media too, because for people like you that were saying, "Oh, I just never felt like I had my space. I could never found my people in the industry. I felt like I didn't belong." Like, there's so many of, like, I remember when I went to college, my mom's like, that's where you meet your true friends, is in college, because high school you're all put together because you live in the same zip code, but college you find your people, or whatever you do, whether you're going to beauty school or just out in life, that's when you find like your real people, because it's not just based on where you live. And I feel that way about social media. I feel like I've really found my people, and that is so much more gratifying too, when you're like, I have good people around me too.
it's, I talk about it with my cousins. So I'm really, really close with my cousins. And
Hmm.
we always say, like, I will catch you when you fall. Like, to find people like that that are not family, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
I had it in my family, but I feel like it in this industry. Like, I feel it. I feel it from,
Yeah.
and yeah, social media has absolutely made that possible. But here's the thing: it's not just social media; it's you,
Yeah.
whoever's listening, showing up authentically, putting yourself out there in order to attract it. So you're not going to find your people just by posting on it or just by scrolling on Instagram,
It's
right?
true.
You have to put in the work to get it. That's, I'm
Yeah.
learning. I'm learning that. And that's life lessons, right? Like, you want to lose weight, you got to put in the work to get it. You want to be
Yeah.
successful, you got to put in the work to get it. You want to find community, you got to put in the work to get it. Like, you got to go this far and then you get this.
Right. They're not just going to come find you. You have to like put yourself out there. You have to be you. And there, regardless of extrinsic rewards, there's so many internal rewards for just being yourself. So like I think we have to remember that too. Like there's just so many good things about being and showing up as your authentic self. And if you get some great relationships out of that too, that's even better. But like, I don't know, I think we're in a world that's just like there's so much craziness, there's so much heaviness, there's so much sadness, truthfully. But also, I have never had better and more deep relationships than I do now.
You know,
So
it's interesting because earlier this year I was just going through it, still kind of going through it, but like, I
sure.
realized that polar duality exists. That like, the world can be scary and shitty, but also beautiful at the same time.
So
I
true.
could be breaking down and losing my fucking mind, but also like being built up and finding freedom. I like, it's this, and I never realized it because, and I had a moment, and it was in June, where I was so fucking hurting, just being super vulnerable.
Hmm.
Like, I was in so much pain. it, not physically, like heartache.
Yeah. Yeah.
Devastated. I was like ugly crying, screaming to the universe, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Literally at that same exact moment, there's a voice in my head that's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I remember I was like, what the fuck was that? Right? Because I was so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like not fucked up on drugs, but like I was just so
Yeah.
hurting.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I just hear thank you. And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? And so I journaled about it. And it's like, wow, even in that deep sadness, I find gratitude. How is that possible? How is that? How can I be sad and grateful at the same time? And so that started this whole journey of just like, and wow, and.
And
And so I was
right.
grateful for it because once I journaled it out, I realized like through that pain, there was so much good that was going to come. My conscious mind didn't know it, but somehow, some way,
Yeah.
conscious fucking fragment of my brain was like, no, you're going to be really grateful for this moment. Just
Yeah.
get through it. Don't fucking do nothing stupid. Get through it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it just like domino affected and unfolded into so many great things where I'm like, so it's the and. So yeah, that
Yeah.
be
It's the
heavy.
and.
I can have great relationships.
Absolutely. The world can totally suck and be amazing at the same time.
But who I didn't know that. Like
No, I didn't either. That didn't exist and did not exist. It was or, there was no and.
it
But
was
I
so
think,
shocking to me. Girl, I was like, wait, what the fuck? How
yeah,
is this possible? And like
yeah,
I talk to people and they're like, yeah, I've had that too. And I'm like, how can I be sad and happy at the same time? Like I feel crazy. And I would text my cousins, I'm losing my mind. And they're like, no, you're not. You're good. I'm like, okay, catch me if I
right.
fall. Catch me if I fall. Because I feel like I'm a fucking
Yeah, yeah,
so good.
absolutely. No, I
So, so
love
good.
that.
So I have a question just kind of going
Hmm.
on a tangent. When you're talking about how this year you got more involved in education, what was that experience like for you? Because I remember like so I've been in education for a really long time. I started with brands and then I started combed and like it's just part of my wheelhouse at this point.
Yeah,
Seeing people step into that, like because I know that there are a lot of you who are listening who are wanting to take that leap. I see it. I've seen it for a couple of years where, independent education is slowly starting uh to take a right, maybe faster now, but there's a lot of
yeah.
you that may be afraid, a lot of you that have some sort of stuff. So what was your experience like what made you want to decide to get into it? And then how you actually doing it? Like actually stepping into doing it, like what was in your mind and then where are you at now with it? Just
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I
hearing
just want to say, yeah, I just want to say real quick before I jump into that, like, there's a lot of conversations that I don't like happening on the internet where people are being like, oh, everybody's an educator now. Everybody's a coach now. Listen, if you want to be an educator and you want to be a coach, go do it.
fucking
Okay.
go.
Like, first and foremost, I hate that conversation because who is anyone to decide who should be an educator or
Yeah,
coach?
fuck you, that's
And
my life.
there's a million people who need to be educated, so there can be a million educators. It's totally fine. So I just want to like
And
that conversation really bugs me.
all
But
the
anyways.
all the stuff. No, because like I couldn't fucking agree with you more. And like I have people that I've coached and mentored, and they're like, I want to do education, but it's like everybody's an educator or the industry is so saturated. So what?
So
First of all,
what?
everybody is an educator. They're not you. Here's the only tidbit that I would say. Don't do it just because everyone's doing it. Do it because you feel
That I think if you're going to go into education, you need to have a mindset of like giving back. I did a live with Nina Tulio like maybe a month ago talking about education, and we talked big time about you need to go into it with the mindset of serving others, right? Don't go into education like I'm going to make $1 million. I
like,
want to, you know, don't do it that way. Like
or that
that's
you
just
want to
like
be cocky and like show how fucking phenomenal you are because you probably
yeah.
nobody fucking cares. No,
Like first and foremost, no one cares.
no
Like
one.
ego in this industry like blows my mind because like no one cares. Anyways,
So happy that
but
'Cause I grew up in an industry where educators were ego.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Like, also, it was not regular people who were educators, right? This was people who were like,
big
you
time.
know, and a lot of it, if I'm being honest, back in the early 2000s, when you and I were first in the industry and educators would come, or I would go see an educator, I was always, if I'm being honest, underwhelmed because we put them on this platform and they do come out with such a big ego. And not saying that I didn't learn stuff from those people, but a lot of it was just like smoke and mirrors. And you kind of left feeling like, okay, they were not regular people experiencing everyday clients behind the chair. They were people charging $1,200 for a haircut, dealing only with celebrities. So,
So they're not relatable in any way, shape, or form.
yeah, I just love that us, I'm putting myself in this category, like average Joe, so to speak, are educators now who are doing real hair behind the chair.
Yes, yes.
So I
Don't
would say, first and
educate.
foremost,
Please don't.
yes, I would say first and foremost, go into it with a mindset of serving other people. There money to be made in education, of course. However, don't do it with that mindset. I got into education because I had educated. So when I was in a commission salon, I was I was the hair director there. So I did all the new talent training, helped with our new talent program. So I always loved teaching others. Um, and then I started teaching for salons, like their new talent program. So they would hire me, come in, and I would just teach their staff. So I kind of like been dabbling in it for a while, but I just felt like this was the time in my career. People were starting to kind of know who I was. So I felt like, okay, independent education can be an outlet for me to kind of like, I'm someone who has to wear a lot of hats. Like I'm an overjoiner. And people are like, how are you doing all this? I'm like, I'm hanging by a thread, but I'm doing it.
I always say it's either a thread or a noose, but I'm hanging. I'm hanging.
Right?
I'm
Right.
hanging.
We're hanging. So, I mean, I felt like it was the time was right for me. I felt confident in being an educator because I feel like that's nerve-wracking too. And so people sometimes think it's like this glamorized thing, but too, when you're traveling all the time and a lot of times you're alone, right? Like when I'm on brand trips, I'm usually alone. And so that's not like that glamorous. You're on a plane, you're sick all the time. Like,
You're always running from airport to airport. Like I've done, I think, 56 classes this year. And I'll be
oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, what city am I? I don't even know what city I'm in. Like I'm here. I don't, it becomes
Right.
so, I mean, don't, I fucking love it. I love it,
No,
but
absolutely.
I am. It's you're fucking traveling in your suitcase and your travel makeup and your regular makeup and your travel
Yeah.
hair stuff. And it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, I feel like I've gotten a system down now. So it's just like, I just do it. But, I love meeting other people from all over. I love sharing like what I know, what they know. Like it's so fun. I collab, like I said, with my friend Erin Ray. She was more versed in independent education, so it was like great to team up with her because she knew like the logistics of like Eventbrite and all those things that I hate doing. I'm just like, I'll Venmo you, girl. Like I'm that
Let's make it easy. Just you do it and I pay you.
so and then now I'm working with brands and that's just amazing too. And then I work for my distributor as well. So it's fun they're all a little different, right? Distributors, independent, brands, it's all different, but good in different ways too.
We're literally in the same boat because everyone's like, dang, like you teach a lot. I'm like, yeah, because I teach for like 17 different types of things.
That's the thing.
Like I
Yeah.
work for the manufacturer, I work for my distributor, I work with other distributors, I do the independent. Like it's all because my passion is education. Now,
Yeah.
do I have to eventually niche it down? I do, because after some point, wearing all the hats, like something is going to fall through the cracks. So,
Absolutely.
but until you get there. So let me ask you, stepping into the independent education, what was
Mhm.
your mindset when it came to it's oversaturated? I know you said you don't like it that everyone's doing it, but like that's a thought that crosses your mind, or it didn't even cross your
Of
mind?
course, like, not really. I mean, I'm somebody who's kinda like, "Let's just see how it goes. If I fail, I fail." I failed enough in this industry that it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, um, but I guess the mindset was just like, I know that I'm a normal person doing normal hair, and I think that's attractive for people. I think we need that. I mean, of course, because the market is a little saturated, right? We had to think through our pricing. Like that was definitely a conversation of like, we need to price this correctly. Um, but like outside of that, we just kind of took the leap. We're just like, let's go for it, and oversaturated or not, again, if you show up authentically online, you're gonna find your people who want to go see you.
Love it. I know. I had somebody tell me how many burger joints are on Beach Boulevard. How many burger joints are on Beach? And I was like, okay, okay.
Right,
I'll
right.
get to my place real quick. Like it's true.
Stop.
How many department stores?
Right. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think people forget, like, there's so many of us that need to be educated, so it's fine. And like, I think for me, I was as a newer educator, I was a little nervous about like, well, at that salon, so and so had been there. Why would people want to come see me when they saw so and so? Big names, right? But
Yeah.
like, just because, and everyone's not for everyone, right?
But that's
So
a
just because someone has a big name or just because someone is specializes in this doesn't mean they're the person for everybody. There's an educator for everybody. So
and that if you're toggling with the idea of getting into educating, whether it's for brands or independents or whatever, I think the most important thing, and I think you'll agree with your year of educating and meeting all these people this year, that if you're you fully authentically and not trying to be like, I'm not trying to be like Morgan's not trying to be
yeah,
like, I'm not trying to be like Sarai's not trying to be like, everyone's kind of doing their themselves.
yeah,
When you can operate from there, then your people are going to come and they're going to want to see you, they're going to want to meet you, they're going to want to learn from you, and you're going to contribute to
yeah,
them. But when it's this mask of I'm an educator,
yeah.
you're
Girl,
going to be
bye.
humbled. You're going to be
Yeah.
humbled real fucking quick because people are going to show up to your class. And listen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I've
No, no,
taught
no.
salons where, they've come to my class and they've come to other people's classes and big names, and they're just like, what a different experience. Not better, not worse, but different because
Different.
you're fucking real.
Yeah.
You keep it real, you keep it true. You're like, it's not bullshit. And so
Yeah.
they paid 3 times the amount for that and got 10 times the information here. So if you're embarking on this journey, or even if you've been in education for a long time, a loving reminder, just check yourself. What's your what
100%.
are your intentions? What's the reason you're doing this? And make sure it's in alignment with your values, whatever those are. Mine is contribution, mine is empowerment. Like those are my values. So I communicate that in my education. And I think you do the same. You do the same.
Yeah. I think you just like to making people feel comfortable to learn. I've been to classes that I've just felt uncomfortable. I immediately felt unworthy almost. Like I felt like, no, you're the student. I'm the educator. I do everything right. Your way is wrong. Like we've all been to one of those educators.
What
And
literally
I think getting into education, you have to remember like these people are paying to see you. Like how amazing and humbling is that? Like it's wild to me. But yeah, I just want to make people comfortable to learn. So I'll fully admit in a class like, "Oh, I fucked this up." Like, you know what I mean? Like because
Well,
that's
I
real
am
life.
nervous as fuck being up here. Like when
Yeah.
we were in Utah for Balanced Stylist Society retreat, it's probably been over 10 years since I've been on a stage. I teach in a classroom setting, I teach online, I teach on like,
Yeah.
this level. Not
Yeah.
so once
Sure.
I like was on there and I looked around, there was like 100 something people. I was like, and I started tapping, like I'm worthy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
because even in my 15 or 16 years, I've taught all over the place. In that moment, I was like, oh. So to be vulnerable in that moment and say, I'm
Yeah.
actually nervous. I'm nervous.
Absolutely.
Like some of the educators that I used to go see, they would never, ever admit that. But they felt
Yeah.
it. Everyone feels it. I don't
They
care how
had to.
I'm doing
Because
it.
you know what? I can go in super, super confident. Like I kind of do the same spiel as far as like my application. I always teach the same application that like I know on the back of my hand. But what we have coined these people as the disruptors. There's always one person in a class that's looking at you like this.
Yep. I call
And
them
it
the
might just be their face. It might not be that they're, but I constantly feel myself staring at that person and get more and more nervous as the class goes on because I'm like, am I teaching anything of value? Because I'm not looking at the other 40 people who are
99%.
smiling at me. I'm looking at that one person like she hates me. She
And the
hates
thing
what I'm
is,
teaching.
that's a her thing, not a you thing.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like I think as educators, you have to remind yourself that like people are gravitating to you for a reason. I had to do that very early on. Like our first class that I taught was the first time that I had taught lived in color on that level. And I was like left and I was like, I feel really good about it. But that one girl looked at me like and you have to let go of that. So go into education also like confident
I
be at
think
a I would say like I don't want to ever deter people from going into education. I mean, I will if you're not going to do it for the right reasons. But also I would just say make sure you're ready. Like I see some people or they'll reach out to me and they're like, "Well, I really feel like education's the route, but like I don't feel ready." And I'm like, "I would just wait till you're ready." Like that's my only advice because I wouldn't have been ready 4 years ago. 3 years ago to do what I'm doing now. And so I just think you'll know when the time is right.
but
And it's
like
not an oversight.
just make sure, and this is just a different perspective on it.
Mhm.
Make sure you're truly not ready and it's not the fear that's sabotaging.
Yes, that for
That
sure.
happens
Like,
a lot.
and we do that, right? We're like, oh no, I'm not ready, mainly because I'm fearful. But I mean, in the sense of like ready in the way that to serve others, ready in the way for like
To
what
facilitate.
that means, and like ready for kind of your commitment with that.
Yep.
Because it's a huge commitment. I mean, I've been away, I just finished my 13th trip, which is nothing compared to 52,
52
um,
classes, not 52 trips.
but still, it was just like, it was a lot for my family too, to adjust to.
I'm sure.
I mean, I've got an amazing husband who just like picks up the pieces, and like we joke that he has full custody of our children and I'm just here hanging out. But, no, I mean, it's a commitment on all ends, right? It's a commitment from me, it's a commitment from students, but it's a commitment from my family too that we've had to create.
There's
So,
a lot of factors to consider. It's funny because my friend just sent me a podcast episode that I recorded with her in 2018.
love that.
18, and it was the year I was launching Combed. I was
Wow.
just baby launching it. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm really excited. I was just listening to it this morning and I started getting emotional. There was a point to this. Oh, the point was that the podcast had nothing to do with it. There's a lot of factors that you have to consider. Like, yes, that was the point. Because I shared on that podcast. So that was recorded in 2018, but Combed Education started 6 years before that.
Mm,
So I think it was 2011 or 2012. This is just random. I was doing a 90-day leadership program, and my goal was to create an education company and do 3 or 4 classes. And I did it because that was my goal. That's what I thought I wanted. But bitch, I did those 3 or 4 classes, and then 6 years went by with nothing. So
sure.
I wasn't committed. Now I look back, and had I, oh my God, I'd be in a different place right now. But I wasn't committed. I did the classes and then I stopped
So
because
it was like you needed that break though. You know
needed,
what I mean?
yeah, all of the shit that came up. So you got it. The commitment is important. The time commitment, the money commitment, the family commitment.
Hmm.
Just a lot of things that you got to feel prepared. You have to know how to facilitate. You need to know how to own the room. And I don't say
Yeah.
that in a cocky way. There's content, which is what you're delivering, and then there's context. How do you maintain context? Because I will be the first to admit I've taken classes years ago from people that I thought were like, oh my God, you're amazing. And I go and I'm like, you can't hold context. everybody in the class is like side conversation, shit's happening. So like there's a lot to it. So just if you're considering, I don't know what I'm here, but if you're considering getting into independent education, something I'm doing next year is to help people who are interested in that, because it's so much more than taking what you know and sharing it. There's a way to communicate, there's a way to facilitate, there's a way to keep context, there's a way to understand who's in your audience and how to deal with them. So when somebody's sitting like this, you know how to.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, I know a lot of amazing, amazing artists. Just because you're an amazing artist doesn't mean you're going to be an amazing educator, and vice versa. And I think don't put follower count, don't put all that into like, oh, am I worthy of being an educator? Because there's a lot of people who are amazing artists but aren't good educators, or vice, whatever. So,
and you're not going to know till you do it. That's the truth. You're not gonna know.
I mean, and like too, like I think people get scared, like, oh, I don't want to travel. You don't have to travel. Do stuff in your own area. All you really need as an independent artist doing independent education is a whole salon, right? Like get your curriculum and all that together on your end.
My shit's online.
Right. I mean, or do that. And like people are like, oh, well, you work with so many amazing brands. You don't need a brand backing to teach. Do whatever you want.
I believe that one for years. I was like, I need to work with a brand.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know why though, Morgan? Because when I launched in 2011 or 2012, I went to salons. I did the cold calling. I walked in like sell what I was teaching. Number one question: who do you work for?
Yeah.
What brand do you represent? Which distributor are you with? Who?
No, it's so true.
And I was like, no, I'm not. It's me.
Just me. Here I am.
Like this was again in 2011, and they were like,
pass. Yeah.
So
no, it's so true. I mean, and again, before social media, you had to be with a brand to do in-salon education. There was no independent education. There was no, I have my independent brand that I've created online. That didn't exist. So yeah, I mean, we've really shifted out of that. Working with brands is great. Having the brand support is amazing. However, you don't have to have that to be an educator.
And just FYI, y'all are so scared to reach out to these brands. You don't think they want to sponsor your shit? Come on. Like as somebody who's worked with brands, very rarely do they say no.
Very rarely. Very rarely.
So like you're all up in your head about I can't text, I can't DM from Mar. They're not going to give me stuff, bitch.
Absolutely. You'll have a box next week. So this is the thing. Like
you'll have a box next week.
Like I feel so fortunate. I feel so fortunate that I do get a lot of brand support, and brands reach out to me all the time. And I know that's because I have built a social media following, right? But like at the end of the day, and that's great, but at the end of the day, like you have to also make your own way. Like you have to. So many opportunities that have come my way is because I've made them happen, not because I've waited for an email.
For shit. I tell everybody this. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody's going to come save you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Put on your big girl panties and go.
No brand is, I mean, unless you're like, way up here, no brand is reaching out to you. You have to make things happen in your life. And I've had so many rooms that I've been in that I shouldn't be in, but I made that happen because I was like, I knew the right people. Yeah. I'm on your podcast today because I made my way into your DMs once upon a time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but people they underestimate networking so much that I'm like, I have a friend in every corner of the world because I'm a natural networker, right? Like
when I come to Chicago, I have like 5 friends in Chicago.
Well, good. You have me too. So we're gonna get together.
We're gonna talk about that. But yeah, you have to put yourself out there. Again, nobody is going to give you shit. Nobody owes you anything. They're not gonna be like, oh wow, you're doing great, unless you're like big time. So yes, girl panties. Put yourself in the rooms that you don't belong in. Make your own fucking way and go. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Morgan, what's the worst?
Exactly.
They're gonna tell you no.
They're gonna tell you no, and you move on to something else. Yeah. Like just like people are saying everything else is saturated, the market's saturated with brands as well. There is a brand for you if that's your goal. Like I'm not saying you have to work with a brand, but if that's your goal, you find your people, find your brand. I'm very lucky. I'm aligned with 2 brands that are like my people. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like a number to them. I feel like my opinion matters. I feel like they respect my time. They respect my paycheck. Find the brands that will do that for you if that is your goal.
Yep, if that's what you want. But anything in this industry is possible, you guys. There really is no ceiling at all. At all, whether it's education, behind the chair, extension business, avant-garde, runway, whatever it is that you want to do in this industry, you can absolutely do it.
Absolutely.
There are a couple of stipulations. Number one, you have to show up as your authentic self to bring your people, your brands, your collabs, your people to you. That is first and foremost. And number two, you have to do it scared.
You have to. And you have to do it hard.
Yeah, do it hard, do it scared. Fucking, you just have to take on the podcast I was listening to this morning that I did in 2018. I shared a Martin Luther King quote, and it said, take the first step in faith. You do not have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step.
First step. I love that quote. I love that quote. It's so true. We're so focused. I think there's so many of us, and I've been guilty of this too, that we're trying to rush our goals because everything online seems like it happened so quickly. People will be like, oh my God, they'll DM me. They're like, how is all this stuff happening for you? I'm like, because I'm 18 years in and I've worked 18 years to get here. It didn't happen overnight. I know that a lot of people see Instagram and they think overnight success, but they didn't see the years that I made $12,000 for the whole year. They didn't see the tears. They didn't see me, you know, all the things. And so I think, like you said, go into it authentically, go in scared, but you have to work hard too. Nothing comes for free. And like we've said a few times today, no one cares. No one gives a fuck that you, whatever, you got to make it happen and you have to work hard. And I think too, what we really need to come back to as far as behind the chair is really serving our guests. I think somehow that has gotten lost in the wayside and it makes me really sad. We are in the service industry. I think people have forgotten that a little bit. I'm not saying we shouldn't have boundaries.
No. And that
I
should be freaking like a
taken advantage of. And, you know, I think people should respect your time, your money, all those things, our profession. First and foremost, I would love to be respected as a hairstylist. I know society still has some catch up to do that, but I think at the end of the day, there's been way too many conversations that, let's face it, clients are privy to. Our Instagram is not just for us and hairstylists. So when
you're talking shit about clients. So I'll tell you,
talking shit about clients and like talking shit about our job. Like, yes, it's hard work. I love what I do. I'm exhausted every freaking day. And I work harder 18 years in than I did in the beginning. It doesn't stop, right? Like there's no moment that you're like, well, I can just sit back now. Sorry, it doesn't exist.
I want to share two things. I had somebody recently, we were having dinner and I had a couple of students purchase the course. And I was like, this is so fucking cool. Like I'm having dinner and people are buying my course. I'm making money. They're going to learn. Like, this is such a win-win. And she was like, oh my God, it's so easy. And I was like, easy? Do you know how much I put into this? Do you know that I spent 6 months working nonstop for it to be easy now? It's not easy. It was never.
Not to mention the overhead you had to invest. Like people think, right, that I had a client tell me, this was not that long ago, and it took me a minute to compose myself. And she's younger than me, but thinks she's got a very important sales job. Good for you, girl. You got your degree. That's amazing. But definitely has that mindset of like hairstylists are just my servant, whatever. That I will not tolerate. So we are here to serve our guests, but I don't want to feel less than anyone. But she said to me, oh, my job is so stressful. You're so lucky you just get to do hair. And that, oh girl, I was like, and I'm not a confrontational person at all. Like I will move away before I have to confront someone. But I was like, if that was it, if that's all I did could come and just do hair, that would be so easy. Like as if doing hair alone isn't hard work, but like, do you think that's all I do?
They do. And
it's crazy.
A friend of mine, she's like, I'm thinking about going to beauty school. And she's like of my age. And she's like, you just make it look so fun and it's just so great. And like, you inspire me, and like, you make really good money and like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, be prepared.
Be
Because
prepared. And like,
23.
I would say, like, let's be honest, the amount of people making really good money is probably like less than 50%, right? So when people like see that, and yes, we do glamour it. I will admit, I make very good money.
Fuck yeah, I worked my ass off
However,
for it.
but like I said, there was years that I made $12,000 in 1 year. Like it doesn't happen just, I don't show up and get a paycheck. Like that is funny. I think, yeah, that gets a little over glamorized too. And while I like the conversation that we are ballers, because we are, I think too, it's over glamorized, right? That people are like, oh, hairstylists, they're just like raking in the dough. Like, that's not exactly true either.
A lot of work. When
A
then you
lot
have
of work.
people who were just like surprised of
Yes.
just like, damn. Like I was having a conversation with a friend and they're like, wait, what? That was in one day? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, I worked my
Yes,
ass
it
off.
was.
It wasn't,
Yes.
I made your 2-week paycheck in one day. But like what it took to get here,
Yeah.
the business building, the networking, the technique, the education, the investment, the time, like it wasn't,
Yeah.
I'm a hairdresser, now I'm making buku dollars. Like, no.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, and now, like, yes, I'm making really good money, but I'm also like dabbling in like 7 different things. So, like,
All the hats.
it's just, it's a lot of work, and I love the work though. That's what I feel very fortunate about is I work as much and as hard as I do is because I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah. And don't discount how important hard work is. We are
Yeah.
living in a society that is very much like, I want it now, I want it to be easy.
Yeah.
And while maybe less than 1% of people do get that, where they just get lucky, that's not the case. So even
This
if
is not it.
you're
Yeah.
trying to get into independent education, like I said, that podcast was recorded in 2018. Comb started in 2011. This 2023 is the first year that it was like actually fucking profitable.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many fucking years later? So
Right.
show up authentically, stay consistent, you will find your people, and be prepared to work hard. That's it.
Yeah.
That's like the key to success.
That's the recipe.
It's the recipe. That's the recipe. It's not going to be handed to you. Fucking make your space. Find the space, or if it's not there, make it. In the rooms that you're not supposed to be in, fucking
Absolutely.
fine.
And if you don't feel like you have an avenue, if you don't have a space, make one. The people gravitate towards you,
Brand that I work with, Magix, in 2020, I made the space for me there. I called them and I said, this is what you need. Right now, the world is shut down. You cannot back down. This is what you need. This is what I propose, and I can do this for you.
Yeah.
You fast forward 3 years later, like, so you got to be, you got take the first step. Take the first step. And a lot of us believe for some reason that you need the motivation to do something. While the truth, the honest to God truth is the motivation comes once you build the momentum.
Totally.
Motivation is, you're never going to really wake up and be like, I'm going to start a workout program and go on.
Yeah. No.
You got to just start it. And then once you start it, you become obsessed.
Totally.
So the first step.
I mean, there is definitely still an avenue of fake it till you make it in our industry. Especially when you're like, working with brands and doing those conversations, like just go in and just do it. Cause I was not confident doing that. Now, when I work with brands, whether it's for a small contract or a long contract, I'm like, it's very important to me that I get to be myself. And they all want that. They're like, yes, that's why we love you.
That's where
right. So like, you get to that point where you're confident being like, well, this is me and that's important to me to be me.
But that comes after you take the first step.
It does, because I was definitely very not myself and very like, okay, yes, whatever. What do you need for a long time? And now I'm like, if it doesn't work for me, it's not going to work for them. Right. Like if I have to come and be a certain way, like that's not going to benefit them. And they know that brands aren't stupid,
They're on social, they're seeing what's happening, they're seeing what people are resonating with, and it's authenticity.
Yeah, for sure. Because there is a lot of fake shit in our world. And like if a small corner of the internet can be real, like that's just what we're gonna go to.
I love it. I love it here. I fucking here. I am so happy. I am so happy, number one, that we were able to make this podcast happen. I
Me
appreciate you.
too.
I had to change the
I
time on you.
appreciate
I'm
you.
sorry. But I adore you. It's not just because you're funny. It's not just because your work is good, but like the way you see things, your mindset, how you speak, how you are resonates so deeply with me. I adore you. I absolutely
You're
love
so
you.
sweet. The feeling is mutual. I mean, I have followed you for so long now, but again, you're just who you are online, offline, and you are my people for sure. And like we have so many of the same people, like that's how I knew.
Oh,
I'm
so
like,
we're
oh,
like
she's
naturally
friends with so and so. Yes.
we're soul
So
family.
yeah,
We are soul.
yes,
I love it. I
yes.
love it. Thank you so much. So I do want to talk to you about some sort of a collab in 2024.
Yeah, let's do that. Absolutely.
About that, but I appreciate you. I know you're super busy. I know you have a family and you wear all the hats. So for you to take some time out to chat with
This
me,
was my pleasure, truly.
I
If I
appreciate
have to schedule time to hang out with you, I will do it anytime.
it. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. For those
Thank
of you
you.
that are listening, at Jade Beauty Co. On Instagram, you have seen her. But if for some reason you're on a corner of the internet where you haven't, please go and just take some tissues because you are going to cry after and then be shocked at some of the most amazing work that this woman creates. So you are absolutely an inspiration. You are a light to this industry.
Oh,
So proud of you for taking that leap into education. And I hope that the people that you get to inspire just continue to grow. So I absolutely adore you. Thank you for your time. I love you.
thank you, girl. Love you.
Until next time, guys, happy hair coloring.